Gartner recommendations, they talk about dividing things into move groups, evaluating equipment to be retired, like we were just saying, negotiating with equipment vendors, like we were just talking about, so we already sort of covered this, contingency plans we were talking, but one of I highlight this, their big recommendations is, Gartner doesn't usually do this, and they talk about how you can educate yourself and do this internally, but they distinctly recommend engaging a third-party consulting firm to orchestrate the relocation, coordinate with the staff, vendor transportation, project management, all these different pieces involved. And it's a long list, and I'm happy to share some of the war stories and some of the pieces, but that's why we built a methodology around this, because it is a very special, sort of a special and exacting science of doing it this way, even outside of the technology realms, just the processes that are involved. All the successful migrations I've seen in the last, say, I've been involved in quite a few migrations, so about the last 15 years, have all followed 90% of the steps of these types of methodologies, whether they knew it or not. But doing it in a planned and upfront way has definitely alleviated a lot of pain. Winning the battles in the war, I think that you can have your cake and eat it too. I had a few interesting recent conversations with some CFOs looking to make some changes in IT, and these 2/3 of these were 2 out of the 3 were actually organizations where they didn't have a current CIO, so the CFO was currently filling that spot. I know that's something a lot of people have run across, especially the last couple of years, that really tightening the reins on IT. And they asked some interesting questions. They almost all asked the same questions. How can we have some near-term impacts to lower costs and to fix things? How can we have some long-term impacts, improve our platforms and our IT infrastructure in general to affect long-term cost savings? Obviously, things like more efficient data centers, better virtualization, those sort of things came up. How can we have a good plan to combine the near and the long term so we're not making big sacrifices to either, but a plan that works for both? How can we do this without distracting from our core business? We've already cut down our IT staff. We're running bare bones now. How are we going to handle any of this? And how are we going to mitigate the risk? That you have certain IT projects that have a certain chance of failing. This isn't one that any business can really afford to fail. It has to work. So how am I going to mitigate the risk and avoid all the pitfalls involved in that? And I said, well, yeah, you can absolutely do it, but if all your competitors are doing it, can you really afford not to do this? Can you afford not to be a leader? Even in education, can you afford not to have leading edge technology resources and be a demonstrated leader, even if it's only in some ways a marketing thing to say, hey, we're leading it, we're cutting edge in this way. That's meaningful to people, especially students. So I think it's applicable in every market segment. So they asked, well, so what's stopping us from doing it? Well, I said, you just need a plan. You need to be ready to execute. You need to be realistic about the resources you have and the resources you don't have. You need to put together a technology roadmap. You're going to need to do strong program management around this is a real initiative. You're going to need the engineering experience. You're going to need somebody to focus on this and not just the day-to-day firefighting that is. I know how many of you spend, or some of the people in your organization spend maybe half their week doing firefighting or reactive things and just trying to deal with issues in your infrastructure. And I know that's honesty. I appreciate that. It's tough. I spent a lot of years in operations, and even if often new projects are still patching old issues or dealing with old problems, and that's where some of these fundamental platform changes make a significant difference. You're going to need to move quick, and that doesn't mean changing all your infrastructure, but you need to get a pilot out there. You need to demonstrate the cost savings and avoid capital expenditures that are on old platforms, that are on old technologies or old data centers. If they have a limited number of dollars that the business can invest in IT, you got to spend those wisely. This is Extropy. This is what we do, helping bridge those gaps. We come in, we provide the focus, we provide the time, the project management. We could be in and out, help get it transitioned, help make this happen, help supplement where IT organizations either have enough or don't have enough time. And I've been involved in projects where we've only done the project management, so we bring a specialized methodology to that and used entirely internal resources. And I've been on projects where it was entirely outsourced, and I led a team where we actually built their whole new headquarters building and their new data center and their network and their VoIP and their data center, everything. Every piece of the area of the organization they're moving to, performed all the move logistics, helped people get set up, and then helped transition to their IT operations organization. So that between those two is where it usually lands, where there's some internal resources helping out, but you really have to have the time to focus. And if there's anybody not really busy right now in their IT organizations, I'm sure the executives in your organizations would be amused by that. I don't know anybody that has an awful lot of free time. So there are definitely some challenges in doing this, but I don't think the challenges are ones that can't be overcome with good planning, good process, and we've seen this time and time again with the right methodology. And I've seen the times where the plan isn't there and you got to come in after the fact, and it costs more, but these projects can be put on track and they can be fixed. And there's a lot of interesting lessons learned, so I'll be happy to share war stories with any of you after this. I think addressing it in some way, if you haven't felt it yet, there's an imperative. Have any of you had a directive from your management that there have to be significant cost savings coming from everything in the data center? Has that been an edict or anything? Or is that just sort of par for course? All right. So we talked about some of those imperatives, the challenges, the solutions, planning and executing with confidence. We've been doing this for 10, 12 years now. This is our expertise. This is our planning and methodology. If you're thinking about doing consolidations, transformations, and migrations, I'd love to talk to you about it. We're we're offering a free assessment. That's something one of our consultants would come out and talk to you, or talk to you here, or talk to you where you work, and understand a little bit more about your project and what you have going on. And no strings attached, offer you our recommendations based on our expertise on how we can help with that. And if there are places where you need help, we'd be glad to help out and bid on those projects and try to help you make those changes. Otherwise, you get some great free advice out of it. And there's only so much I can cover in an hour. There's an immense amount of other data, and I'd be happy if you want to talk with me or Brandy, give us your information one-on-one. I could send you some more of that. It tells a little bit more about our methodologies, how we go about doing some moves, consolidations, and then the whole plethora of things under the umbrella of transformations, everything from virtualization to physical data center changes to other sorts of technologies. Love to follow up with you and have a conversation afterwards to see what you have going on, and please take advantage of the free assessment. We're not always going to be able to do it, but now we're in a position where we can where we brought on some new people, and we're going to be able to do a little bit of that for a while, and I'd like to extend that offer out to everybody. All right, thank you.
Thank you.